I've got one that can see.
Logic before authority. Hi guys, this is Daniel Alexander Cannon here on Logic Before Authority. I have, in this video, this is going to be the continuance, but really a new beginning in understanding a certain, an amazing thing that, oh boy, I don't even know how to get started. I've been struggling for days to figure out, and so excited about the topic because of the content that I literally made myself sick. But I'm back at it, and we're going to try to do this. And no particular order here really, other than these are just some images and some biblical quotes and various things to show you what I'm going to try to go at. Now, I don't even know how to do this. I don't know how to start. I don't know, but we're going to do it anyways. Okay, so let me just start building an image in your head, okay? Do you know how Satan is said to have horns on his head, a horn or horns on his head? Okay, that's symbolism. Okay, at least I think it is at this point. It's symbolism for the horn. The horn, like a horn head, someone with a horn on their head, or a pointed head, or maybe a cone head. And this all has to do with, it's directly tied with all my not all, but a lot of my previous videos I've done talking about the Taurus. Okay, hopefully you know what a Taurus is. It's a name for a certain type of, you might say, sacred geometry, but at the same time it's just the way that the energy flows and creates things in our world. Okay, world, you should WHIRLED from my videos about the iris world. Okay, it's about how God created things. It has to do with that's why it goes back to you talking about Adam and Eve and the apple. The shape of the apple is a very good example of a Taurus. And it's not only just the shape, but the contents and how it is designed and what it grows from to create the apple, the whole thing, the tree, everything is tied here. Like I warned you, I have no idea how to do this, but I'm trying to get started here to get this information some by some. I'm not going to be able to show you everything and do everything tonight, but because I'm going to run out of energy mentally, literally. But let's start looking at just a few things here. We'll zoom this up. Hopefully, yeah, I can pull it around and you can see it. Looks like, yep, mic's still working, everything's still working. All right. So what I did, which you can see here, is I'm in the King James version of the Bible, and you can do this in different versions, okay? And I ran a search for horn head. So verses within the entire Bible, Old Testament and New, that uses the word horn and head in the verse, okay? All right. And what I started seeing, and what we will continue to see as I'm able to move forward through this video and some other ones that are going to be coming, is amazing. It's unbelievable. Almost. And I'm not going to say that everything that I'm going to show you in this video is absolute and this is the way it is and this is the word of God. I'm not saying that. This is an investigation of understanding of our world and our reality that we exist in, and how it was created by the Creator, and things that knowing that information of how it was created by the Creator, it then allows us to see things not only on the earth in front of us, but also in Scripture and in other historical texts. Okay? All right, let me try to shut up and focus here on the mission at hand. Okay. So, obviously, there's quite a few things that mention horns and heads. Okay. In the Bible. Okay. Like I say, I really don't know how to do this. Okay. But this is all related. This is all related. All these verses, they're tied to each other for a reason. Like this. I mean, like, the serpent, okay, has always been talked about as being some type of, it's symbolism wise, it's been referred to as a serpent, okay, like a dragon or some kind of a reptile, okay. And the word, of course, reptilian comes to mind. And throughout, for my whole life, I've always, we've all heard little pieces of these things and information, and I always thought it was just ridiculous, okay? Thinking about the falling ones and coming to an understanding and figuring out that they actually had conical heads. And they are all of one mind. They have a hive mind, okay? And then tying that, looking at ancient Egyptian information and realizing that Akhenaten and all these other, like Cyrus, and all these, what they considered to be gods at the time, they were all very tall, and they generally are depicted with conical heads or physical horns on their heads, okay? And then when you look at other texts from other countries, and you just start seeing this. And then if you even look to today, these various various lineages of these conical head beings still walk the earth today. I promise you, they do. And I'm going to show you a few pictures ultimately here of some of them. And they run the world. They run the banking system. And that gives them the majority of the power. Just controlling the money. Okay? But they're of a single mind. They have a hive mind. And this is why, part of why their fascination, of course, with the octagon, the 8-sided shapes like in a beehive. And this is why throughout history there's been things going on like head wrapping, and where women especially were trying to make their head from a young child, wrapping their head and trying to make their head into a cone, because they were doing it as trying to be like their God. Okay? Like, we want to be like God. We want to do what we believe is what God would want us to do. And in those days, they were wrapping their heads to try to be like their gods. This is going to be difficult to explain, but we're gonna try. Okay. Let's keep going right here. Let's open this one real quick. And these are just a few more verses for hornhead in the Bible. And yeah, I've got some specific ones pulled out that we want to look at. I mean, but every time you start looking, let me just pull this up right here. Okay. appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon it. So he had horns on his head, or did he have a coronal head, or a cone head, or a elongated head? And he had crowns. So, of course, we know the crowns upon the heads were different kings. Well, the kings of old had, according to everything I can find, they had conical heads. They had hive mind heads. And they also had crowns. They would wear crowns, and they were kings like Gog and Magog, and many others. I never understood how many places in the Bible, specifically the Old Testament, is all about giants. But they don't just call them giants. They call them Raphaim, and there's like dozens of other words that different tribes of Israel at the time called these giants. And no, they're not just limited to Israel or that area. It's just where they came from, according to all the text. They came, remember the story of the biblical story, the angels came down on top of, what was it, Mount Hermon? Okay, and 33% of the angels fell. And it came down on Hermon, and then they ultimately took human wives and produced children that were giants and men of renown. And what does the word renowned mean? Well, you'll probably see I've got that all pulled out. And of course it means like a giant. It specifically uses the word giant in the definition, and it also means someone of great power, like a king. Okay, let's read another one here, and I'm just going to do this however I can. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And upon his 10 horns, 10 crowns. Upon his horns, 10 crowns. And upon his heads, the name of blasphemy. So you've got a head that has horns on it, or a head that is a horn. For each one of these heads, they have a horn, meaning they have a conical head. Then they have crowns, meaning they're people that are in power. Okay? The people that are behind the scenes that we really never see, like the Rothschilds and others. Okay? Let's see here. Let's go ahead and go to another image and see what we got next. I'll speak on this quickly. Okay. This is Corinthians, 2 Corinthians 13. It says, finally, brethren, farewell, be perfect, be of good comfort, be of one mind. Live in peace, and the God of love and peace shall be with you. So it says that they are of one mind, which we'll see here, because I'm sure I got it. I'll pull it up. We'll read it. But it also says here for us to be of one mind. And at first I thought, I didn't know what to think, but then I realized that it's telling us that we have the capability, okay, as regular humans, we have a more limited capability, I think, than what the fallen had. Okay, they have true hive minds, but we have the ability to be of a conscience together, and we do. But they're doing everything they can to divide us so that we're not of one mind. Because if you can divide and conquer and divide and divide and divide, there's no way one mind can be achieved for a large population. You understand? Okay. All right, let's keep going here. Let's pull this one up. It would take me weeks to organize this, and I've done it on other projects, and it's just an absolute nightmare. So let's do this. Let's see. See, here's another example. This is of us being told to be one mind. This is well, let me just read it. It's verse 27. Only let your conversation be as it becometh the gospel of Christ, that whether I come and see you or else be absent, I may hear of your affairs, that ye stand fast in one spirit, with one mind, striving together for the faith of the gospel. So they're telling, this is, I believe this is actually, well, maybe not, but it's telling us to be of one mind, okay? And that's what all the division is about, is to break our ability to come together as a people. And I think that's a pretty obvious thing, right? All right, let's keep going. I don't know what order this is in because it's complicated. There's too many images and takes too much time. So we're just going to do this way, however it works out. And hopefully it'll be good. Okay. Here's another one. Fulfill ye my joy, that ye be like-minded, having the same love, being of one accord, of one mind. And of course, like I said, we cannot do that with the amount of division that they've been doing with us. But they are of one mind, okay? So let's see what we got here. It's Revelation 17. Yeah, okay, let's read this. The beast that thou sawest was, and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was, and is not, and yet is. The beast that was, meaning way back in time, you know, that there was a time when these giants were totally in power. And then you can read in the stories, there's many, many, many stories, way more than I ever imagined, the stories of the Israelites fighting giants and fighting these conical head beasts, okay? But yet they were mostly wiped out between that and the biblical account of the flood and so on. Long story short, no matter how it happened, they were basically wiped out. But they're back, and they've been back, but yet they're coming even more so. And we'll get into that, okay? But let's keep going here. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads or 7 mountains. Mountains. Again, we're talking about something that is very pointed, right? Conical in nature, on which the woman sitteth. Okay? And I know we could get into that more in depth as to, is this a place? Is it symbolism? It's all of that. Okay? But let's keep going. And there are 7 kings, 5 have fallen, and one is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue. So this is saying that there's still a king to come that will continue a short space, and he will likely have a conical head, is what I'm saying. He will likely have, I don't know how pronounced it will be, okay, but if he is from the fallen, he is going to have a conical head. and a number of other capabilities that will impress the people as well. And we'll probably get into those, whether it's this video or another one. And let's see, everything's still working, yes. Okay. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7th, and goeth into perdition. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. Okay. The beast itself is the overall system of technology and probably deities and as well. And this is really hard for some people, I'm sure, to wrap your mind around. It is for me. So the beast is a system, really. And although it can be looked at multiple ways, but beast basically is a system. And I've said it is the 4th industrial revolution that's already been underway for since at least the 50s, if not 30s, or if not even way back further. Part of the technology that's even being used now and being reintroduced or rediscovered is part of that beast. But it's about computers. It's about microchips. It's about building things like the internet, like we're using to communicate. But what it does is it's creating, you might say, a type of hive mind that ultimately they want to be in control of. It says these have one mind, talking about the 10 kings, okay, and even the beast, right? And shall give their power and strength unto the beast. So these conical head beings that exist on this planet, and we have a few pictures of a few of them. And like I said, Rothschild is one of them. But I said, who is Rothschild? What is Rothschild? It's the descendants of Roth. And I'll explain that. It goes all the way back to the Garden of Eden, when the word Roth starts being used. That has to do with Cain. Yeah. And we'll get to that. Okay? So they're all of one mind. We're talking about conical. We're talking about mountains. We're talking about the heads and horns on the heads, or conical heads being symbolism, or horns being symbolism for the conical heads. I hope some of this is making sense. Okay, so I ran this search here real quick, and I'll just show you. So Nephilim, conical head, and of course you start coming up with the mystery of conehead mummies, human or aliens. They're human and fallen deities, fallen angels. They're not aliens. They're meaning alien from another planet. They're fallen angels breeded with humans, and they made conehead people that were kings of old, renowned. Okay? And then this part down here is related as well. Says more Nephilim - Bigfoot - mound builder Peruvian coneheads. Okay? You may or may not be able to realize and understand that there's a race of beings that are, I don't know how it happened, but descendants of the fallen, the Nephilim, which walk all over this planet in the woods. And I feel like I can say that is a fact, because I've had experiences that you can go, and the videos are on my channel where I've dealt with this, as well as videos discussing how I've had angels come to me Come to understand also another word may be seraphim, okay, for these beings of light that I see. But yeah, wild stuff. Hereditary gigantism, the biblical giant Goliath and his brothers, more giants, right? But it's all supposedly just like stories and tales and all this, right? That's what I thought until recently. It really started coming clear, because I get sent down these paths to understand things, and I don't even know why I'm being pushed to research like all these different subjects. But then what happens is it's just a piece of the puzzle, and as I get more of the pieces, I'm able to see the picture better. And that's what this video is talking about, as well as my Iris World videos, which are very much related. Okay, so you can see some more stuff here. And a lot of us heard about this kind of thing. But what makes it all come together is understanding that these things are actually true, and that these beings existed all over the world. But they all came out of, even the researchers that are researching this, and they're not looking at it the way I am, but they're researching it, they trace the DNA all the way back to Israel and Syria and all that area in the Middle East there. And it ultimately comes down to the area that surrounds Mount Hermon. Yep. Over and over. All right. Everything's still working, recording? Yep. Let's keep going a little bit. And of course, it made me think about the pine cones, because I've talked about those many times on my channel, and how I think it's related to the human mind, and also related specifically to how our Creator created everything, particularly many things, in a spiral. See this spiral? How you can see my mouse here. Let me blow this up a little bit more. See how these petals on this flower? Yes, it's a pine cone, but it's also a flower, meaning that it is a point of creation. The seeds are produced here. This is shaped very much like a torus. Again, see the petals running this way, and they circle the pine cone and come back around again, coming up like this, creating this this pattern that is everywhere and in many things. But we have something very similar to this, according to biology, which is called the pineal gland, which is in the head, right between the eyes, straight back between the eyes, and it is in the shape, the image, we'll call it image of the pine cone. Let's keep going. And then of course, made me think about the different ways that people dress and the type of hats that have been chosen for people to put on their heads. We assume it's all just coincidence in culture. I don't think so. I think there are many examples that prove that that's not the case. At least it's proven to my mind. Whether I'm going to be able to get across and present it in a way so that you'll understand, I don't know. You're going to have to do some of your own research and get this clear for yourself and what it means to you. Like I said, I'm not presenting all of this as to this is absolute word of God fact. I'm presenting what I have been led to come to understand. And I believe that it is righteous, and I believe that it is my Creator leading me to this. It's my job in this lifetime. So here we have historical women wearing pointed hats because it's fashionable, maybe, right? But where did it come from? You see, look at this image here, for instance. This is a woman sitting here reading a book with a cone on her head and a veil. Okay? And the picture on her wall behind her has another woman in it that has a cone on her head. Matter of fact, two women. There's a woman there with a cone on her head. Let me see if I can zoom this in just a little bit more. Yeah. See that? Cone on her head, cone on that head. And that's the picture behind her with the cone on her head. Now, all this coincidence goes so far in this world, but not that far. And of course, here's more. More conehead symbolism. Human beings wearing things that emulate the fallen. Okay? That's what they're doing. And it takes many forms, I think, too, as well. Like Catholic religion, with the Pope wearing a conical hat on his head. I know what that means, and you can look at the building that he presides in and see what that means. This would also go to explain why the conifer, the conical tree, the conical pine tree, the conifer, is in this shape as well, because it's in the image of creation. And it has pine cones that are also in the image. Okay? All these limbs swirl up this tree in a very specific order and produce this shape. And it should explain to you, people who've been around on my channel very long, why they have orbs, why orbs are traditionally put on a tree. You see the Christmas decorations? They're orbs. They're in the image of angels of light. The angels of light that I have done a documentary on, that's on my BitChute channel, under the name of UFOs, Orbs, and Lights in the Heavens. It's real easy to find on my LogicBeforeAuthority channel on BitChute. Okay. The ornaments are in the image of the angels of light, and the tree itself is in the image of the Taurus, and of what I will just say it the way I see it, is in the image of heaven itself and of our Father. I don't believe I'm saying something blasphemous, because I would not. You see the spiral? We've all done this. Spiral, put a spiral on a Christmas tree. And of course, this should explain to you why Santa Claus wears a pointed hat. He wears a pointed conical hat, doesn't he? Yes, he does. Now, in modern media, they like to make movies and they like to show us these things, but they don't point it out, do they? And they definitely don't go further than that and explain what it is. But you see this is the Queen. This is the Borg, Star Trek, the Borg that came flying in a cube through space and attacked them and all this stuff. And they were assimilating all of the humans into their hive mind. Okay. I've got another photo here of this that'll help you a little bit. And I think this is the one. You see the honeycomb design in her head? Okay. Again, that is that, and of course she has a cone head. That is all put there for you, for someone like me, and for people like you to be able to see and go, oh. You see, that's why the Operation Warp Speed uses the cube, the Borg cube. That's also why your QR codes are a 2D representation of a 3D cube. The cube, the Borg cube, hive mind, cone heads. You starting to get any of this yet? This is just a little bit closer picture of that. See, each one of these is like in a honeybee hive. That's what it is. That's what that's what they're disclosing. They're not trying to get you to realize it, because they're counting on the fact that you're not going to recognize it, okay? So let's keep going. Another image of her head shape and all this. This head shape has been used. Think of the movie Predator, okay? He was presented as a little bit more reptilian, but he had this big cone head that went back and things that looked like this stuff coming out of his head, didn't it? I think I might even have a photo of it here somewhere. Yep. And I think these are actually representative of blood vessels, because the cone heads, the ones that have been found around the world, they don't have the normal divisions in the skull like we do when we're babies, the soft spot. They do not have the same design, okay? And they also have on places on their head that humans do not have. They have places where blood vessels, they have little holes in their heads where blood vessels come out of. And I think that's what this is symbolically representing by the way that they did it. Oh, and look, we just happen to have one of the heads here. See here? Where's the split that's supposed to be right here? And this is way high. You know. This is, says conehead reptilian. This is a picture of a statue. I'll open it so you can see it better. It's a picture of a statue that's supposedly like 7,000 years old. Conehead. See, the conehead, the cone thing shows up all over nature. All over. Including in our bodies. On a woman, it's her breasts and her butt and her reproductive system. Okay? It's not something that's necessarily evil. It's just a trait that I've, along with some other things that we're going to get into, is just a trait of these beings. Okay? This is some statues, various different statues, again, of reptilian-looking things with, and they happen to have things on their head like wraps, kind of like your Arab men. They all wear the wraps on their head. Where do you think that came from? Do you think at some time in the past they knew how the energy flowed? They learned how it flowed in the head, so they would wrap their heads to try to intensify it, to make themselves stronger, smarter. Or maybe it was them just following tradition, and they have no clue where it came from. They don't realize it's from the fallen, the deities, the old kings, and such. And I couldn't help but take a look at some reptiles themselves and see if they, if I could see any that had cone heads. And, well, yes, there are. There's even a lizard called the conehead lizard. And I guarantee you this cone on his head produces for him some unique capabilities. A little bit closer look. You see that reptilian design in there? The octagon shapes like a beehive. You see it? It's right there to be seen. You see the horns on his back right here. See the little horns? Reckon that could be something to do with the stories of horns? I do. And of course, we know that they would put this, if it was a true thing and a true secret, they would put it in a lot of things, but they would not explain it or point it out. But here you have the Sleestack. Remember the Sleestack from the Land of the Lost? Remember that? If you don't, you can check it out. But this is, here we go with a conehead reptilian again, with those big old eyes. Just like the skulls that we were just looking at. They have larger than normal eyes. Sounds like a gray alien, don't it? But I think there's different breeds of these people. And I say people loosely. Because I think they do have human DNA, but it's mixed. If not once, multiple times. It's another image from that movie. See, once again, the hectagonal shapes on their heads and stuff. And this is all, made up by men. But this is the script and the imagery from here is obviously intentional. Land of the Lost, where they would go in they found the pyramids and they would go in them and it would send them back through time. There's truth there too somehow. I'm telling you. Now here we have from the same Land of the Lost, they had these beings on there. They had a big forehead and conical head. It wasn't as pointy because there seems to be a various of types. And plus, they don't want to make it too obvious here. This makes me think of the creature that we now know of as Bigfoot or Sasquatch, or there's many other names. Just like with the giants in Israel, all the different tribes and communities had different names for these giants. So do we when it comes to this particular lineage right here. This is lineage of the fallen. They are giants, not necessarily in this movie, but in real life, because those things are real and they are out there. Go back on my channel and look at my video and listen to my experiences with them. I promise you they're real. They exist. And I've done just enormous hours of research on everything I'm talking about. I mean, we need a new word than hours because we're talking years, decade. All right. Let's keep going here. There's, of course, big old forehead. He's got a 5 head. Some more imagery, of course. And there was this thing, which is related to one of the secrets. It's tied to the pyramids in Egypt. which I'm sure tied to time as well as many other things, but I'm not going to blatantly spill opinion on something I don't completely or have a better understanding of. Do you remember my video where I talked about this? That's my hand, and this is my conch shell, conical shell, my conical shell. You see? Looks like a hurricane spinning, don't it? Because that's the image that it's in. It's in the image of it's in the image of creation. Yep. What does a hurricane do? It destroys and it creates. It doesn't have much respect for your house on the beach, but it'll create a new beach or take one away. This shell is in the image of the conical heads because it's in the image of heaven. It's in the image of God even, I believe. Like I said, this shape is not evil. It's just that they have taken it, the fallen and their bloodline have taken it as their own imagery and stuff, with a lot of eye symbolism and everything else that they do. I mentioned this real briefly, and that is long hair. Okay, every hair on your head is connected to a nerve, and it's connected to your brain, and provides something besides just vanity. And it provides something besides just warmth. The hair on your head is the extensions of your awareness. It is your connection. In the old days, when the kings, especially the conical shaped-headed kings, when they would conquer men in areas, they would shave all the men's heads. You could say, well, that's just so that you can tell that they're slaves. I think that was easy enough already to tell. What it was is to confuse the people, because when all the men have long hair and long beards, don't matter if you have a lot of hair, just whatever you have, you need to let it grow long and grow wise. And of course, you'll notice that most of your wise people around the world that are considered to be very wise, not in every single case, but typically they're going to have long hair, even longer than this. But long hair, long beards. Right? It's just the way it is. Even Christ himself is depicted with long hair and a beard, right? I would say and advise all of you men to let your hair grow. Stop trying to fit in society. You're not going to fit in. If you're on the path that I know you're on, and the path that I'm on, you're never going to fit in. You never have, and you might as well be what you are and be what you can be, which is going to require you to grow your hair out long. And they're aware of this in general. So this is an image from Predator, right? And, well, let's don't use this one. Let's go on to another one here. This is Predator, of course, the Predator from the movie The Predator, that he could disappear, be climbing through the trees, jumping, running through the woods, but be invisible. And you can see if you look at his skin, of course, it's reptilian or reptile skin, again with the hexagonal kind of shapes. You can see that his head is very much like the Borg Queen, isn't it? The Borg Queen that I showed you a few minutes ago. It's conical. He has this helmet on that has this round shape up here that means something as well. It's an indication of the hive mind. That's why Osiris is always shown with that thing above his head. Even in the animated video I Pet Goat, the figure in there that's riding around in the boat in I Pet Goat, what does he have above his head? He has this round image above his head. We'll look at this real quick, but I don't want to focus on the predator necessarily, but it is relevant. Okay. There's a lot of relevant things there. Behaviors, superpowers, when they talk about that kind of stuff, they're talking about some of the gifts that come with the mind and the conical heads. They have weaknesses, but they also have gifts. Matter of fact, that's exactly what I'm talking about right there. I did get some things right in the organization of what I put together. You see, this guy has a conical head. He's known as and depicted many, many times. But see, he's sitting here and he's got horns, right? And sitting in the horn is this round thing. And some people would say it's the symbolism of the sun. But I think it's even much deeper than that. I think this is the representation of the hive mind, a greater mind, that kind of depiction, okay? And of course, you can see he's depicted with long hair and a long beard. Here's some more depictions of Egyptian gods, as they called them, which are just lower gods. They're angels, fallen angels. You can see they're depicted with what? Conical head with the horns also and such. Long beards, and I'm sure long hair. It's over and over depicted that way. And there are many things like that. Here's another one. Now, I don't know why this one looks like it has a chair on its head. I don't have everything figured out. Only little pieces. But I'm sharing it with y'all guys. The best I can. So here you go. Conehead again. Osiris. This is Isis, I believe, is being depicted here beside him. Isis with the ankh in her hand, which actually is related to the head, but yeah. This is in her hand, and in the previous image, it was on his head. Now here we go. More. Oh, we'll just open it up here and take a look at it. Connection between Mycenaean crowns and gold druid hats. Druid as in droid. Just change a letter or two. From druid, you get droid. Just because it's related. The droid is what allows them to assist in the building of their hive mind and to suck us into it. The droid. The druids wore hats like this. Why would you wear a hat like that? Unless you were trying to either imitate through flattery or whatever, or fashion, imitate someone that or something that you believe to be a god, and you believe that you would get power or intelligence out of doing something like this. Here is head of a Central Asian figure in a pointed cap. Okay. Supposedly in a museum. This is out of Asia. And here he is, either has a conical head or he's wearing a Santa Claus hat. Right? Just coincidence, right? Okay, here's another one. Just another instance. Look kind of like Santa Claus hat, but it's adorned and it's a conical hat. And I'm sure somebody out there saying, well, it's just because a conical round-shaped hat fits your head better. Yeah, if you've got a cone head, it fit really good. And more little indications. It says handmade clay, druid or droid, druid hat or cone hat figurines. Well, cone hats. Even got the bodies in the shape of the Taurus, the image of heaven. Druid circle of the hive. Just something I captured real quick, and I think this is actually some kind of a game. But of course, let me show you this. It says Druid circle of the hive. Become the swarm. That's what they want. They want you in their control, in the hive system, and they're going to use technology to try to do it. Some of the technology will be medical, but they will need to get it into your body somehow. And they have this new program where they've been trying to do it for the last 2 years. Really bad. They want it in there because, well, they need to control the reset. This should explain to you a little bit about why witches always are shown with the imagery of a pointed hat. This stuff isn't by chance, and I hope every one of you can understand this. I don't have the answer as to what's next or what to do, but we need to see and understand this stuff and realize what we're dealing with. Okay? You know, like Merlin the magician, right? Merlin the magician. Magic. How does he do magic? Well, he's got a cone hat. Conical head, or either a cone hat. He's also is depicted normally as a giant as well. From Disney, Merlin, right? Conehead. And I think I know where, remember what I've been talking about, the letter X? I'm not sure yet, but I think I've got it figured out. Because the X is right on the forehead of conical people. Their head, when they're born, is separated into 4 plates. And it produces an X right on their forehead. You can't see it if there's skin covering it, but the bone is an X right there. You do not have an X on your forehead. Here's another image of Merlin. I'll pull this up because it has more than one secret in it. You've got to see the storm back here. That is a supercell, a conical shaped storm. That's how a storm rotates. It spins just like a hurricane. So you have a Taurus back here. You have a conehead giant here. Okay. And then you have a deity inside of a bright little bubble here. That is a depiction of an angel or a seraphim or a fallen traveling within a Taurus. Taurus head, Taurus deity, Tinkerbell, angel, whatever you want to call it there, and the storm. And if you look in the background, the buildings have spires on top of them, or conical tops. Spires. A few of you now understand why I dropped the hint the other day about spires. Most of you don't know what I'm talking about because most of you don't see it when I do community posts. That's just a little bit better image of the same thing, but we got it. Here we got another. It says the best droids of Star Wars. See, back to droids again. And guess what? The droids of Star Wars have conical heads. Imagine that. What is the coincidence at this point? Yep, more droid images. Little pointy hats they're wearing. Funny how that works. Little Ewoks. Like I said, I think there's a few different altered bloodlines out there that are still present here. Here's your bubble again. Dorothy, her house was sucked up in a tornado in the middle of a storm that is a supercell that produces a tornado or a torus. Comes down, snatches her, and then she lands in Oz, and then the good witch comes down in a bubble, and later they're showing her in a crystal ball, which is the bubble. Now you know why they're using this kind of imagery and symbolism? Because it's tied to the gods. It's tied to God and the lower gods, such as the Bible and other texts talk about. And I'm sure this guy here, he's got wings and can fly, and I don't know what he looks like. This is just a wizard in general, of course, with the conical head. Just another image I happen to grab. Here's some gnomes, gnomes for Christmas time. Of course, they happen to have conical heads too. Like Sandy. Or Satan, depending on which way you spell it. Now you know why Santa has a horn on his head. Because he's depicted in their image. Yep. Yes, indeed. We'll pop this open real quick. So I pulled up, just run a Google search, serpent brain. Okay. And of course, an image of the center of the human brain came up, which is where our connection to the apparently reptilian side, possibly, in the center of our brains, where we're connected to the beast that we are asked and told by the Bible and by God to resist the piece of beast that exists within us. Because we can all be beasts, can't we? Here goes, it says, serpent brain transformed into carnal mind. You notice he's got this head surrounded by horns. Why do you reckon that is? The person who did it might not even know. I just find it interesting. I think it's related, but I'm just not going to go there in this video. This I did find interesting that, okay, now understand that I've done a lot of research. I mean a lot. And when it comes to the legend of the Sasquatch, that nobody can ever find or produce a bone, or at least we're not allowed to see them, because any story that's out there about one being seen or a body part or anything, the black SUVs always show up real fast. But what I find that interesting is why the cone-headed beast of the woods, a lineage of the fallen, why they build conical shaped structures. I just find that probably not a coincidence. Yeah. This is the type of structures they build in the woods. Been seen and found by many. And this is a little bit better understanding of why they probably do that. Has to do with their mind, because they are hive-minded as well. They are aware of the others around them. They're aware of you when you're present, or especially if you think of them. If you see them and think of them, they're going to turn and look at you. Or if you're thinking of them, they may do something to let you know they're there. More conical TP type things built in the woods. And they do other strange things in the woods with other building different structures and such. Now, I say that like they exist. It's because the reason I do that is because they do exist. I'm absolutely 100% positive. I would stake my whatever reputation you want to call it that I have on it. Interesting drawing. Looks like he needs him a wizard hat, doesn't he? Yep. Just some things I ran across. How about the Simpsons? If there was anything to do with this conical head thing, they would put it in the Simpsons, wouldn't they? They would. And they did. You see, if you remember all the imagery of Marge, she has a cone head. They're even making fun of it here. Marge Simpson, ice cream cone head. Cone head. Most of the people that are depicted in The Simpsons are depicted with an elongated head. Are they not? Yeah. Okay. This is from The Simpsons, and they showed this. It said an alien from The Simpsons. Oh, and look, he has a conical head. Imagine that. And here is a depiction of the movie Alien. And the word alien is ultimately to deceive you, like they're beings all out there on other planets, and they've come here because we're so interesting or tasty, one or the other. That's all lies and deception. The truth is what I'm telling you and explaining to you today. This is most of you know it's a depiction from the movie Alien, with a super long conical head, of course. And here we go. How you like that one? Nice conical head, ain't it? And a bunch of X's. What do you reckon the X has something to do with this X on the head? On the conical head, the X. See it? These are the bone plates that exist on conical heads that they have found. Not the ones that are people that were human females, like from Egypt, that would wrap their heads to try to make them longer, to distend their heads, to try to be like their gods that were there at the time. This is symbolism for the separation of the bones in the head of the conical head beings, the fallen, the Nephilim, the Raphaim, whatever you want to call them. How about that? Is that a king with a horn on his head and crowns? And at the very top, an X. No, that is not a cross like Christ cross. This is an X. This has to do with the separation of the bones in the head of the Nephilim, of the fallen. And I can't say whether this guy has a conical head or not. Probably not very pronounced if it is. But he is certainly wearing the imagery of the fallen, isn't he? That's right. Let's keep going. Oh, let's see here. Just another image of the same kind of thing, right? He's wearing his cone head, saying, I am God. They got their coat of arms with the cone head sitting on top, saying, I am the lineage of the fallen that came down upon Mount Hermon. More of the same. And let's see here. Yeah, let's open this one. Okay, this is the Vatican, of course. Many of you have seen this. But let's look. See this cone? Where is the cone? The cone is on the head of the serpent. See the serpent's head here? The body of the snake going back this way. Triangles kind of shaped here. Serpent head. Eyes right here. Eye there. And the conical head. The hive mind. The head of the fallen. And there's much more to explain. But it would take forever. Well, here's another image of that too. You see? And the fact that it has a swollen body back here has to do with pregnancy. It has to do with time. And that's what this is in the middle. For one, it represents a clock, but it's much more than that. But again, that would be a whole nother video. Just some chemtrails. We were outside the other day. Show it real quick so you can see. Yeah, this was above my house. Look at it just pouring out the clouds. And you can be sure that this is related to the beast system, the beast itself, which is technology. And this has to do with exactly what we're talking about. All right. Let's see. This is all related to, but I'm not going to go into that yet. Let's open this real quick, though. Let me make sure if I want to read this or not. Now the names of the 12 apostles are these. The first Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew, his brother James, and the son Zebedee, and John, his brother. Why did I save this one? I'll skip it for now. I know it has to do with the apostles and the words APO. I can't remember what it... Oh, apotheosis. I wrote it at the top. Okay. It's related, I guarantee you. Let's see where I'm at now. Hail. Why did I look at hail? Sometimes I save something and forget why I saved it. Okay. This is an area we want to look at. And the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed. That is what we're dealing with. The dragon, the conical-headed fallen ones. They were wroth with the remaining seed of normal humans that are not corrupted. And they're making war with us. Yep. Yep. That is exactly right. Let's see. Okay. So this is Genesis 4, chapter 4. I'm just going to read from here down to here. And Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. And she said again, bear his brother Abel. And she again bare his brother Abel. And Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in the process of time it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. And Abel, he was also brought of his firstlings of his flock, and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering. But unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very Rothschild. This ultimately is tied to where it came from. And you see what it says next? It says, and the Lord said unto Cain, why art thou wroth? And why is thy countenance fallen? The fallen. This was the beginning of it, or part of it. This is why they take the name Rothschild, because this was the child, the two first children, and Cain was very wroth. And the Lord asked Cain, why art thou wroth, child? Now you know. I highlighted all this on this one, the same thing. Just looking, glancing over real quick and making sure if I want to read the whole thing right now or not. This is Genesis. Okay, let me open this part. Maybe more specific. So it says, and now art thou cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shall thou be in the earth. Okay? What are these conical people, these fallen? What are they? They're fugitives and vagabonds of the earth. They can't walk the streets. They have to hide and do what they do from behind the curtain, don't they? And then further down it says, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth, and it shall come to pass that every one that findeth me shall slay me. Yup. Okay, here's Genesis 14. And this is really going to get into the biblical scripture of it, so I may stop this video here in a moment and do all the biblical stuff kind of together. But let's take a look at this. This is Genesis 14, chapter 14, of course. Okay, and this is the beginning of where I started to understand that they're talking about the giants all over, and the battles with the giants all over the first book of the Bible, the first horn of the Bible, the first. You see, you got Bible. Bull is the word for bull. It's referring to a horn. It's referring to a Taurus. It's referring to the same stuff we're talking about. And yeah, I know I don't believe I'm blasphemous saying that, or I don't even believe I'm even wrong at all. And in the 14th year came, and I'm not even sure how to pronounce this name, but it's Chedorlaomer, and the kings that were with him, and smote the refrain. I can't even pronounce it. Let me just say, I'll just say refraims, okay? In Ashtaroth, there's that word again, isn't it? Ashtaroth. Now, this is a name for giants, the Rephaim, okay? And Ashtaroth, Carnaim is an area where they are from. And this is right around Mount Hermon. And then it says the Zuzims in Ham. The Zuzims was also another name for giants. I've verified it. You can look it up, research it. So it's talking about the giants from Ashtaroth, and the giants from Ham, and the Emims in another area, the Shavah Kiratham. Okay? And there you have it again, another name for the giants, the Emims. It's just that all the different tribes and different sections came up with their own name for these giants and these cone-headed people. And the whole first part of the Bible is over and over in so many places. They're fighting them. And there's other places down here where that it's related to the giants. This whole story is about fighting the giants. It's just amazing to me. The Rephaim, again, all the different places that it's referred to in that spelling, because anytime you change the spelling, there's various different things, and I may be able to show you in a second. But this is that. The Philistines also came and spread themselves in the valley of Rephaim, okay? And the Philistines came up yet again and spread themselves in the valley of Rephaim. And the Philistines, I'm pretty sure that they are, again, a reference to the giants. The giants coming back up and coming up again and coming up again throughout the Bible. Just when they thought they had killed them all, they showed up again, and killed them all, showed up again, over and over. And all these words, like this Hittites and Perizzites and the Rephaims, all these are tied to the giants. I'm not saying that means giant. I'm saying it's tied to the story, or a place they came from, or a type of a giant, because there's different ones. Okay? All this is related. All right. So like I said, I'm going to kind of stop about here, although I will show you this real quick. This is a definition, the Rapha. So if you look at the word Rapha, Rapha, right? It says in the sense of invigorating, a giant, Rapha, Raphaim. Okay? Let's see what's right behind that. Yeah, let me open this one. It's just going further into looking at it, and I'll need to go to the next one in order to click on this button right here, because these are just images I saved. Yeah. Okay. If we come here, then we've got Beth Rapha. Okay. And it's a further definition, a deeper definition. It's talking about the house of the giant. Beth Rapha. An Israelite and a location, basically. It's Beth Rapha in Israel, where the giants in one part of the Bible said they existed. Yeah, let me open this real quick. Here's another reference, okay? This was one of the references that used Beth Rapha in Chronicles 1. And it said, and Easton begot Beth Rapha, which was actually a person as well as a location. And Pasiah and Tahina, the father of Ernahash, they are the men of Racha. And again, this is all about giants, is what that is. And you can start looking up the definitions in the Strong's Dictionary, and you'll see giants. Cone-headed giants. The same coneheads that are remnants of the fallen. And when I'm talking about Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever you want to call it, I'm not saying they are inherently evil, but they are of the bloodline. And they have potential to be very, very evil. But I'm not saying they are. But I'm also not saying they're not, because they are of the fallen. I don't have the answers to everything. Found it interesting that the word Beth came from it, and you also have Bethlehem. You know, like Bethlehem, where Christ was born, right? Yeah. Anyways. All right, let's see if there's any one more little image or something that I want to show you real quick. There's a lot more things I've got I don't want to show you, but my head's starting to hurt a little bit. Running out of time. Think about Beauty and the Beast. The story of the beast falling in love with the pretty lady. What do you reckon that's about? Huh? Yeah. And of course, he is a conehead, or depicted in this case with horns like the devil. So now you know why the devil has horns. All right, I got to stop, or I'll just keep right on going. All right, there will be part 2, part 10, part 50. Because all my work just runs together, obviously. Even when I don't know, unless when I get pushed down a direction, and maybe you should consider this in life. And dealing with prayer and God is that He can want you to work and research an area. Like, I thought researching Bigfoot was ridiculous until I heard him in my backyard in the woods, out in the swamps in South Carolina. I thought it was crazy until he smacked the side of the house many times at night, and even smacked it when I was sitting there looking and could not see him. Because very similar to the predator, he has the ability to disappear. Also very similar to depictions of Osiris. And out of the movie, what was the name of it? Gateway? No. It's the one, anyways. I can't remember. Like I say, my brain's getting soft. My brain's getting soft. So much. I will read this and then we're going to go. And it came to pass, this is Genesis 6, chapter 6, and when it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men that were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be numbered to 120. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown, which renowned means like a king or a giant. Specifically, it uses that in the definition. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Yeah, when they came down and they mated with the women, things got really bad, and we're still playing out and living out and will live out part of the remaining of this story, some of which that has been written and some that is being spoken now. I love you guys. Father in heaven loves you. And one last thing, if you can and you like my work, please continue to support my work. It's not easy being me. Our Father in heaven loves you too. We'll talk to y'all guys again real soon.